The Warwick Castle ran 20 square miles of ground with 24 stairs, dining rooms, and was surrounded by a 500-meter curtain wall with a massive barbican gatehouse. William the Conqueror decided to add a moat to the castle in 1068. The structure was made of wood and used a critical military base. It was later converted to stone for more durability. Warwick Castle was right in the middle of England. It had a view of the Wales on the west side, road to Scotland on the south, and England all around from the Midlands. The castle was constantly expanding, and in the 14th century, a dungeon was added underneath Caesar's Tower. It was known as one of the most feared dungeons in Europe. The French would call it the Oubliette during the war with England. Warwick Castle has also had a great wall that was used as a courtroom. The entire castle was filled with paintings, armor, and various pieces of artwork. The Great Hall has such pieces. The Great Hall was once the home of banquets, courts, and execution. Yes, they eat in the same room where they kill people. Delicious. Today it stands in stark contrast to its medieval origins. Rebuilt after a terrible fire in 1871, the romanticized Great Hall still grips visitors with the awe and splendor of 1,100 years of history. It holds the world's famous collection of weapons and armor created over 200 years by the Earls of Warwick, and spans over 6 continents and 600 years of artifacts from murderous weapons to decorative parade armor, including armor worn by a young child. I guess you can say the real artwork in the Great Hall is the collection of armor rather than the hall itself. The collection of armory shows how wealthy the past residents of the castle must have been, or their affinity for battle. Otherwise, the actual hall itself has a checkerboard floor, which artists have constantly used in paintings to help represent luxury. All of these treasures are thankfully protected by the castle's defenses. Since the entrance to a castle was likely to be a favorite target for an attacking force, it was vital for the defenses to be as effective and deadly as possible. The first line of defense would be the barbican. It's an exterior walled passage which has a drawbridge and would lead to the main entrance known as the gatehouse. Soldiers would be faced with the first iron portcullis and a barrage of crossbow bolts. If the barbican portcullis failed to lower, the attackers would find themselves in a dark, narrow-roofed passage with arrow slits on either side. There were also murder holes from above from which stones and missiles would rain down on them. The gatehouse features murder holes, 2 drawbridges, a gate, and a portcullis gate made from wood or metal. The towers of the gatehouse were machicolated. If invaders made it past the portcullis, they would find themselves in a narrow-covered passage with arrow slits on either side, and murder holes in the ceiling from which rocks and hot boiling water was dumped onto them. Surrounding the rest of the castle for its defensive are the towers. Towers were often used as a main defense system for many castles. The towers provided great height and position, allowing archers to have a clear view from an enemy attacking below. Warwick Castle had several useful defense towers. One was Caesar's Tower, the tallest at the castle, which stood about 45 meters tall. The tower is a great example of military architecture because it has an irregular codifil or clover-leaf shape and is topped by a platform with a crenellated and machicolated parapet. Guy's Tower was built later in the 14th century and is the first tower that is seen when entering the castle grounds. The tower has 12 sides, is 39 meters tall, and consists of 5 stories. The first 4 stories included a central stone vaulted chamber with 2 small side rooms and a toilet and a bedroom. The 5th story is a hexagonal guard room. During the Civil War, the windows were enlarged so that they could use the small handheld cannons to defend. Another tower, the Clarence Tower, has become known as the Royal Keep inside, where walls and baking ovens to provide support during an attack for those living within the castle grounds. Mighty and tall, these towers were effectively used to intimidate and defend.